The Red Rag Riddle. Chapter 14. Caught. Thanks to the man in the blue car who had come up at just the right minute, the thief had been caught. The parents decided they wouldn't call the authorities if Ronnie returned all the money, from the bake sale and the lemonade stand. He seemed sorry. Sorry he had been caught, that is. With the money back, however, the students happily turned over a big portion to the Springers. When they saw the beaming faces of Katie, Bobby and Mrs. Springer, no doubt remained that they had done the right thing. Nevertheless, summer was over. They wouldn't have the new computers they had worked so hard to earn, but none of them complained. They would still work on Saturdays until cold weather came, and they would put aside the money they earned until sometime in the future when they had enough to buy computers. Saturday afternoon, the children met back at the park where the project had begun. Knowing they were going to give short testimonies the next evening at school night, they were rehearsing what to say. The pastors from both churches had planned a combined school night to start off the year. Each student planned to share one thing he or she had learned during the summer. "Pudge, you're rambling," said Acer. "Get to the point." Pudge glanced at Mrs. Virtueson, who made sure he kept within the given time limit. "I wonder what's up," J. Michael interrupted. He pointed to a police car rolling to a stop. Mrs. Virtueson noticed too, but said nothing. Pudge was still practicing. "Come out with your hands up," a voice boomed over a loudspeaker. The students looked at Mrs. Virtueson. Mrs. Virtueson looked at the students. They all looked at the policeman. Another squad car screeched to a halt before almost hitting the first one. A second officer stepped out to help his partner. His shiny badge sparkled in the afternoon sun. "You, behind a tree, move out," said the first officer. Happy rubbed his eyes. Sandy grabbed Christie's hand. Slowly, from behind a thick old oak tree, a man with a red handkerchief in his pocket appeared. He had what looked like a notebook in his hand. Miriam's hand flew to her mouth. The boy stood frozen. Only a squirrel moved as it raced up the trunk of a tree. The officer pointed to the man's notebook. "Drop it on the ground," he commanded. The man released it, and it fell to the ground. He quickly turned away from the children and faced the officers. One officer spoke to the children and Mrs. Virtueson. "It's all right, young people. Just move over next to Mom and nobody will get hurt." The other officer looked at the man. "Put your hands behind your back and don't try to pull any stupid stunts, mister. The game's up. It's all over. Children, this is the man who has been following you." "Wait," Christie cried out. She gave the man a hard look. Even from the back, she was sure she recognised him. It was the man who had given them the photo of Ronnie stealing the money. He's not the criminal, she realised. Let him go. He's the man who caught the thief who stole from us. He gave us the picture. Without his help, the Springers never would have gotten the money. "Sorry, sweetie, but this man isn't a hero. At least not in my book. We fingerprinted the photo he gave you and matched it with the fingerprints on the cassette tape. They're the same. He's the one who has been following you. You just never saw him close up." The man hung his head. Christie was confused. The officer hurriedly put the handcuffs on the man and led him to the squad car. The officer picked up the notebook and the police car raced off to the police station. Christie stared at the red and blue lights flashing as the police car disappeared.